On 20th Rajab in 60 Hijra, Muawiyah died. For more than 20 years the tyrant had ruled over Muslims. He was the son of Abu Sufyan and Hinda, who had left no stone unturned in persecuting the Holy Prophet. Abu Sufyan became a Muslim only after he was convinced that Mecca would surrender to the Prophet. His son Muawiyah, however, refused to accept Islam and went into exile in Yemen. It was only when he saw the whole of Arabia become Muslim that Muawiyah was left with no alternative but to accept Islam. After the death of the Holy Prophet, Muawiyah and his elder brother sided with the enemies of Imam Ali. He played an important part in usurping leadership from Imam Ali. For this, first the elder brother and after his death, Muawiyah, were rewarded by the ruler of the time with the governorship of Syria. When Imam Ali became Khalifa, he dismissed Muawiyah for his corruption and anti-Islamic behavior. Muawiyah refused to give up his position. This led up to the Battle of Siffin. When Muawiyah was about to lose the battle, he managed to trick and bribe the majority of Imam Ali's army to insist upon referring the dispute to arbitration. Using the same methods, he got the arbitrators to give a decision in his favor. Muawiyah then set himself up as an independent Amir al-Sham, the ruler of Damascus, when Imam Ali was the Khalifa. Soon after the martyrdom of Imam Ali, Muawiyah, making full use of his methods of bribery, treachery, tyranny, and oppression, succeeded in becoming the Khalifa. Muawiyah was not interested in Islam. He only used Islam for his power and glory. He never hesitated to trample over the laws of Islam. When any saying of the Holy Prophet did not suit him, he ordered it to be struck of all records. He set up a special department under Abu Huraira to manufacture fake sayings of the Holy Prophet, which would favor him and his policies. Muawiyah hated Imam Ali and all the members of the AHLULBAYT. The Shias were mercilessly persecuted. Anyone who dared to say anything in favor of any member of the AHLULBAYT was put to death or thrown into a dungeon. Now Muawiyah was dead and his son Yazid made himself the Khalifa. Yazid was worse than his father. In addition to all the evil qualities of his father, he openly mocked Islam. He was often found drunk, singing songs which made jokes of Namaz, the Holy Prophet, and his progeny. The difference between the father and the son was this: Muawiyah used Islam, Yazid was determined to destroy Islam. As soon as he became Khalifa, Yazid sent a letter to his governor of Medina, Walid bin Utbah, asking him to get bayt from Imam Hussain. Bayt means an oath of allegiance. Yazid felt that if Imam Hussain declared bayt to him, no one could then accuse him of having taken over Khilafat illegally. Walid received the letter on 27th Rajab. He sent a message to Imam Hussain to go to the palace that evening. Accompanied by his brothers, sons, and nephews, Imam Hussain went to the palace. Imam asked all who had come with him to wait outside while he went in alone. Walid showed Imam no respect and rather arrogantly asked him to declare bayt to Yazid. Imam replied that the question of bayt was a serious matter and should be discussed openly in daylight. Imam came out looking sad. He asked all his companions to go home and prepare for a journey at dawn. The following morning, he requested Hazrat Abbas to take charge of the preparation, adding, "Abbas, Fatima Sughra is ill. She will not be able to stand a long journey. She will have to stay in Medina." Imam began to walk slowly towards the mosque, deep in thought. Imam Hussain could not even consider bayt to Yazid. It was not a matter of his pride or his right to Khilafat. Bayt to Yazid would mean Imam's approval of Yazid's way of life, and this would decidedly lead to a total destruction of Islam. It was Imam's duty to uphold and defend Islam. If he stayed on in Medina while he refused to give bayt, then Yazid would surely attack him in Medina. Imam would have the advantage of having all his own relatives as well as the people of Medina fighting on his side. But this would have two serious disadvantages. Firstly, it would put all his friends in Medina in danger. Secondly, although Yazid might be defeated, history would look upon the battle as a battle of Khilafat. Even if Yazid were to be killed, the injustice, the oppression, and the immortal way of life which Muawiyah and Yazid had promoted would not die. Imam Hussein's mission was to destroy the evil that these two men had let loose. For this, he needed to awaken the spirit of Islam amongst the Muslims. Imam arrived at the mosque. He lit a candle and walked towards the grave of the Holy Prophet. The thought that this might be the last time he would see the grave filled him with sorrow. He sat by the grave, put his cheek on it, and began to sob. "I have come to say goodbye to you, O grandfather. I have to leave Medina to save Islam. Pray that Allah grants me patience." Imam then went to the grave of his mother, Bibi Fatima Zahra. He was unable to speak. He kissed the grave and said a silent farewell. Some say that as the Imam began to walk away, Bibi Fatima's voice was heard from the grave. "Khuda Hafiz, O my son. Go, I too will be with you." After saying goodbye to the graves of his grandfather and his mother, Imam Hussain went to Bibi Zainab's house. Bibi Zainab was Imam's sister and was married to their cousin, Hazrat Abdullah bin Jaffer ibn Abu Talib. After exchanging greetings with Hazrat Abdullah, Imam Hussain advised his cousin of what had happened and what he had decided. Hazrat Abdullah tried to persuade Imam not to leave Medina, but Imam insisted that it was the only way to save Islam. He then requested Hazrat Abdullah to permit Bibi Zainab to accompany him. Hazrat Abdullah looked at his wife and said, "Bismillah." Bibi Zainab said farewell to her husband and her sons, On and Muhammad. The brother and sister walked to Imam's house. When all the men who had accompanied Imam Hussain to the governor's palace got back, the ladies came to know about the journey. Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Ali Akbar, Hazrat Qasim, and all the young men got busy with the preparations. Bibi Fatima Sughra watched. She was lying in bed, too ill even to get up. No one was saying anything about her going. She decided to wait till her father's return. Bibi Fatima Sughra was Imam Hussein's daughter. She was about 8 years old. She lay on bed praying that her father would agree to take her. How could she possibly live alone? How could she survive without Asghar? Ever since he was born, she spent all her time next to Asghar's little bed playing with him. Now he had begun to recognize faces and smiled whenever he saw her. Soon he would be talking, and she was anxious to hear him call out her name. "Ya Allah," Sughra murmured, "I hope I would be not left alone in Medina." Just then she heard her father's footsteps. She quickly wiped away the tears from her eyes, propped herself into a sitting position, and put on a brave smile to convince her father that she was well enough to travel. Imam Hussain sat on the bed, put his hand on Sughra's head and said, "When you were born, my dear, I named you after my mother Fatima Zahra. You know that your grandmother was also known as Sabira, which means the patient one. I want you also to be a Sabira and agreed to stay in Medina with al-Baneen and Salma. Will you do that?" What could Sughra say? She nodded her head, fighting back her tears. Imam kissed her and left the room. Whenever the children of the AHLULBAYT were troubled by anything, they took their problem to Hazrat Abbas. Sughra thought of her dear uncle, smiled hopefully, and sent for Abbas. Surely he would find a way to solve her problem. Abbas came in. He was accompanied by Hazrat Ali Akbar. Sughra looked at him and said, "I know how much you two love me. How can you then leave me and go away? If I die, who will bury me?" They explained to her that she was too ill to travel and promised her that they would come and fetch her as soon as they had settled somewhere. Bibi Fatima Sughra said, "I will accept that, as I do not wish to disobey my father. I will be brave and stay here." She looked lovingly at her brother and added, "Ali Akbar, promise me one thing, though. When after you get married and return to Medina and find Sughra gone, promise that you and your bride will visit my grave and recite Fatiha." Akbar and Abbas could not control their tears as they said goodbye. At dawn the caravan departed, supported by Salma on one side and Baneen on the other. Sughra waved goodbye. It was difficult to part with Asghar, and both Imam Hussain and Bibi Rubab had to hold and console Sughra. As she kissed her little brother goodbye, until they turned the corner, Imam kept looking back. He would bravely smile and wave to his daughter. Hazrat Ali Akbar, of course, could not even do that because he was unable to control his tears. As soon as they were out of sight, Imam Hussain stopped his horse and began to sob. It is always so very difficult and so very sad for a parent and child to part. Days passed into months. Sughra would spend her days in the mosque or visiting Baneen, Hazrat Abbas's mother. Ramadan passed. Eid was a difficult day for Sughra. She kept on thinking of Asghar and Akbar and her darling sister Bibi Sakina. Then came Muharram. For some reason, Sughra's restlessness increased. One night she got up. She felt a little thirsty. She filled a cup with water. As she brought the cup to her lips, Sughra stared at the water and screamed. The cup fell out of her hands. Salma came running. "What is it, Sughra?" Sughra was shaking with fear. She ran into the arms of Salma. "Oh, grandmother," she cried, pointing at the cup. As I lifted the cup to my mouth, I saw Ali Asghar's reflection in the water. I saw him spread out his little arms towards me, and I heard him speak. He was saying, "Ala tash ya ukhti Fatima. I am thirsty, O my sister Fatima. I am thirsty, O my sister Fatima." This was the night of 9 Muharram, Shab-e Ashura.